All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right, so what we're doing is doing our Trunnion kit. But the first thing you have to do is take your GM rockers and basically knock the existing Trunnion out of those, which is what it looks like. Kind of flat side, curved side. See where it moves, and these are uncaged bearings, and I'll explain what that looks like here in a second. So I do it like this. A lot of people use arbor press. Either way is fine. It doesn't take a lot to get them out. So you take a larger socket. This is a 20 millimeter 12 point, and this is a 13 millimeter 12 point, just for the audience in case you want to write that down. We'll take it, get it straightened up, and you just kind of crank your vise. Doesn't take much, and pops right through. My 13-year-old daughter loves doing these, so just give you the idea. Not that she's a weakling, but it doesn't take a lot of pressure to get them out. So then we just slide them out. Stock rocker. And so this is what the stock Trunnion looks like. Kind of quirky, but cool. And what we mean by GMs are uncaged is that came right apart. And what you'll see is that one of these fails, these needle bearings, because they're uncaged, and also this is just pressed in to the stock rocker, it'll over time fall out. Could cause it to get off on the edge of the retainer, drop the valve. So this is what we're improving. The roller design is nice. We stick with that design. We don't do the bushings, although there's several companies that do a bushing. Bushing's not the wrong way. We just choose to go with our version 2 Trunnion kit. Has the oiling annulus and the 52-100, I believe. Race pressed on. Hardened race pressed on there. So anyway, that's just what the stock stuff looks like. And again, that's kind of the failure point. It just comes apart like that. So we'll install ours and show you what that looks like here in a sec.
Action!
All right, guys. So we got our stock Trunnions pressed out and cleaned up our rockers. And then we've pressed one of our bearings in with the letters facing out. That's very important. Both sides, your letters should be facing out on the Trunnion bearing. So these cool little protectors are in there is what I would call them, I guess. So I just knocked that out with this one. And then you know your Trunnion should kind of operate freely in there. We'll grab another bearing. I go ahead and knock it out. It's best to go, towards the letters out. So there's several different ways to do this. There's several companies that make a Trunnion tool. Just kind of cradles the rocker for you. It's magnetic. It makes things nice. I want to show you a way to do it without that. So I'll set the other bearing up here and kind of just align it to make sure that the Trunnion kind of freely falls back and forth between the two. So you got it aligned properly. I'll take that same 20 millimeter socket that I was using earlier and kind of put it in between the rocker and the Trunnion, or rocker and the vise there, and then we send you these cool little washers. So I will stack these and create that, basically that same area for that bearing to go in as we were doing with the 13 millimeter when we were pressing it out. Only we want to press the bearing in while the Trunnion stays free. So it's a little more difficult. Take a few tries to get it lined up. But this shows you that you can do it with a vise, kind of in a basic workshop. So one thing I like to do is, again, make sure that Trunnion moves between those two bearings pretty easily once you have it aligned. And then I'll start pressing it. And again, just kind of make sure that it stays moving. And when we get to this point here, you want to press that bearing, again, completely flush. So you'll go all the way to the end. Right? And then pull it off, and numbers on the outside, and everything's free. That's it. Nothing to it. Again, way better ways to do this. This is not necessarily the easiest way. This is just a way you can do it as another option to kind of use what you have in the workshop. Not buying a special tool, using a vise, maybe not an arbor press, so on. So nothing to it. You want to make sure it's moves freely. It does have a little side-to-side movement, as does the stock ones. That's all for expansion, growth, oiling, so So you got to have a little bit of a movement there. You would still want to put the washer on and the little clip on the outside, and we'll probably make another take of that. And because I like to do all the bearings, do all the trunnions with the second bearing, and then I'll do the washers and the little clips. So we'll probably cut here, and then I'll show you how to do the washers and clips here in a second. So we've pressed both bearings in. We have our trunnion in there. Again, we went over. It should spin freely. It's going to have a little side to side. No big deal. So the way we limit the amount of side to side, we have some washers here that we spin on the outside, and then we have these little clips. These little clips aren't very forgiving. You want a good set of snap ring pliers, and I'll kind of show you the trick. I like to put my thumb on the bottom of the clip, and then I like to align the top of the clip, or the opening of the clip, align where the bolt would go through and sit. So, and then I'll take and open up just enough to get it on the outside of the rocker. Whoop, and give it a little smack, and what happens is it'll close back up when you know it's in the right location. So we'll do another one really quick because that one went on surprisingly easy. So grab another one here, put our washer on, grab our little clip, you know, I'll kind of align it with our thumb there, and then we'll open it up just enough to get it started. There we go. See, it's kind of got a good bit of a gap there. I'll take it and I'll just tap it, and that closed right up. And that's how you know it's on there. And again, I just kind of face them up towards this bolt location here on the trunnion, just so you can kind of see if anything ever gets unhappy or whatever. But yeah, at first glance, you can always just make sure, okay, clips are good, bolts there, we're tight. You know, if you're ever doing any bolt checks or health of the engine type checks, just visually look over everything, make sure it's good. So that's about it. These work with a stock bolt. We do sell a 12-point hardened bolt, or some people like the ARP studs. We offer those as well. So any option will work. Stock bolt's fine. I like, you know, even for a higher lift cam, you know, the aftermarket bolts are great. If you're going to turn some RPM, you know, I would suggest doing one of the bolt options. And then, you know, depending on how high RPM, a stud would help. But at that point, you may as well run our BTR shaft kit for the LS1, LS3, Frankenstein M311, AFR Chipflow LS3 heads. So just some other options for you, but the Trunnion kit for most applications, especially on the street, it'll work just fine. I do recommend version 2 because of the oiling annulus and that hard steel race that we press on there.